files or templates that you can, and that are digital that change. But the idea here would be that these could change out as people are going by, and it talks about our city of connections to visit, connect, and stay, which ended up being our tagline. City apparel, that looks like you've already done some of that. And Mark, I need to get a shirt. So anyway.
Yeah.
And then also public works and safety, did some ideas on how that could be done. Monument signs, we really wish you'd replace your monument signs really quickly. That would be nice. And we really like this one. We think it's a little more expensive, but it's so much classier. And this one's one that we created that could be a little less expensive if we just needed to get something up. But whatever you do, get the one you have down and put something. So either one of those, we
Make
created
that
those
decision
two.
tonight.
And then that last section is research.
It would have been really nice in the middle of around it.
And our goal again is, this is kind of old world to have a book, but it's also really nice to have it a reference. Most of our clients keep it on their desk. They reference back to it, then they go to the one that's online, that's updated, and you can take a screen capture if you're sending colors out to somebody, or you can send a logo with a file out, and it gives you everything that you need in those areas. So it's really the one online that's the one you'll probably use the most. But it's kind of nice to have this and be able to refer back to it. And as you find things that we want to update, we'll update them and have them work out. So that's kind of where we're at this point, and hoping that you're happy and hope you're excited.
I appreciated your including the results from the survey and the questionnaire that you put out there, and the demographics and all of this kind of thing. I've gone through those comments several times, and some of them are not as positive as we'd like to see them, but that's what we learned from. So we appreciate everything you've done. Brett, do you have anything you had a lot to do with all of this. Do you have anything to add?
I'm just curious what the rest of the council thinks. This is kind of their first time seeing it, and
Sure.
I'd like to know how they feel about it.
What was that? Sorry.
I'd just like to know how the rest of the council feels. I'm quite excited about it. I like the mission statement.
I think it's amazing. And I love the word connect, because in the beginnings, we talked about the fact that we knew we needed to improve on our ability to communicate. And communication is connecting. And so I think that, it's so welcoming to invite someone to stay or just visit. But regardless, we want you to connect with us and enjoy your time with us. And I think it's beautiful, actually.
Some of the other connection things are like internet. We have one of the best internets around, and we're also the connection to the northeast, northwest.
True.
And so there's
melting
just so
pot.
many connecting
Yep.
points.
Yep.
Connecting with, not only connecting with each other and all of these others, but also we have a history that we like to feel like we have a big part of, and it's a big part of us. And so, yeah, when you first came out with that connection thing, I kind of thought, oh, gee, I don't know. But, the more I've thought about it, and the more, it just like it was magic. All of a sudden, it just made sense.
That's how it
And
was with me too.
yeah, and all of a sudden now this sort of really fits us, and so kudos to you guys for putting that together. And I like the statement at the first of the book where Tremont is a city of connections, and I think you guys did a really good job of pulling all that together and wordsmithing that and making it something that I think we all feel really good about. But it was sort of like same way with that logo, it just sort of, oh gee, I don't know. And then all of a sudden it just sort of just came together, and there it was. So you guys did a great job. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. The biggest temptation now is going to be to let there be changes. Don't change anything. Stick with it for 5 years, 10 years. Don't change it, and just build upon it. And the hardest thing, and we have this with businesses all the time, is entrepreneurs are showering in the morning and come up with a new idea. They want to do this. And the thing is that they don't even give their inside staff long enough to see if one thing really works out. This will work, let it ride and just build upon it. And as you're building upon it, if we want to add a page in here or something, that's going to help educate everybody else. But that's what this is meant to be. And that's the biggest problem we have is people who, you're 3 months in and they're already changing their mind. We're going to do this. Well, people are going to hear your message for a year you'll be tired of it before the first person really connects with it and has it in their mind. So don't change things. Keep it.
Good advice.
That's the hardest thing to get people to do.
Another member of our committee, Sarah, back there, do you have anything to add to any of this?
Really excited about it. I think it looks really great.
We're excited to work with you and help you be able to put that out there. But
I've been itching for it to be ready for social media. So I've got stuff started.
well, and then we want to so hopefully we'll set up a meeting and we can sit down and just meet for half hour, 45 minutes, Zoom or otherwise, and talk about how you could use this and to stay consistent. Social media is just the same. People see it 10 times. You could do the same exact thing 10 times and hardly anybody ever come to you and say, I saw that like 2 weeks ago. Isn't that the same message? It just doesn't happen.
And then I got thinking, we have a mission and vision statement in here, but these pillars, which I think was on 35, did you say? Wherever it's at.
Page 12.
Page 12. I think we ought to concentrate on those, and use those to kind of help drive some of our decisions. And so, we talked we said, well, safety is an important part of our community. Well, that's one of the pillars, comfort, safety, and security. Another pillar is healthy environment. The other one is connection, and then the other one's gratefulness and enjoyment. And so I like this. I think that this gives us something to look forward to in the future as some pillars to build on.
And some of the best ways to build on that is what you put in your newsletter, what you put in your social media. And you could actually just take and do a social media post on gratefulness and talk about how we're grateful to have. Those are the emotions that are drawing people in, and a picture of kids at a park. And those kind of things can really make a big difference. But if you just took all of these things, usually you're selling on benefits and emotions, but even some of the attributes, those are great things to write that short or even a part of your newsletter or anything around. So I would use them over and over and over for the next year or two or more. Excuse me.
As we go through, people are sort of interested in coming into the city, building, doing this or that, businesses and so forth. And it's interesting as I'm looking through this, what is the community what is our, what's our personality, and this sort of helps us to, as you're talking about this, maybe with people that are exploring our city, you can talk about, some of the things, who we are as a community and that kind of thing. So
And that's part
what's
of that
important
voice,
to
that
us.
voice
This
is.
sort of lays all that out for us.
Yeah, the voice talks about who we are and what we want to feel like and look like and be. Sorry, that was kind of stumbly. Yeah, our voice, but sounding neighborly. Just that by itself says we should be communicating. We're never talking down to them. It could even start out as a neighbor. We love what you guys are doing, and we've got an idea that might help. So you're being neighborly, honest. Can I be honest? There's just so much in that voice that can really help you. And up on that page 22 in the top gray, writing style and brand voice, it talks about that. And we put that in there because we never have enough time to meet with all of you and go through every single thing because you want to kick us out after a half hour. But that's why we put that up there, is read about voice and why voice is important and what is Tremonton's voice.
So what about the implementation? I've seen these studies happen here in the last 8 years. And we'll take this book and we'll shove it in the drawer here.
Probably the end of it.
I mean, do we need to form a committee to start driving this stuff?
Well, I think part of what we can do is, it sounds like Rushford has an idea on a staff level how to engage city staff and start the process there. I think one of the things that in your respective role is you appropriate funds, and so we can look at certain appropriations through the budget process that you would like to do to start to get the message out there. Whether that be we focus on street furniture or signage or banners. And I think Mark was going to work on potentially some of that in the budgeting process for you to consider. So if there's other ways that you think that you would be helpful, I think the other thing that Mark was trying to do is put together some plaques. And maybe I'll just let you speak to that, Mark.
Yeah, so I know we've talked about it a lot, that pillar page again. And there's those acrylic plaques that you see in lobbies and in conference rooms. And I was thinking an acrylic plaque right there next to you that shows what our 4 pillars are and how we can work towards those pillars on all of your decisions. And then there's a mission and vision statement. We didn't get to it. It's on page 3. And I think we could include that, in all of the different buildings in town.
Be nice to have that in here somewhere big.
Yeah, right as you walk in the
And the
council
flag, yeah, the flag's a great point too, we could get that up and going.
Mm-hmm.
I think once it's implemented, if we approve this and say, let's go forward, then you'll have an approval process within the city and I think Mark's probably the one that will be the local police, if you will. And
You really need that.
it has to be approved through that person before anything can go out to make sure that we're following the standard in the process, right?
Right.
But I think it's gonna be slowly through updating, I look at the plaques on here and they all have the Tree Mountain logo on it. We could redo those, and this main plaque in front of the mayor here we've talked about, and implementing these easy wins. And then if we wanted to do billboards or all of the street furniture or something that would be definitely a budget item that the council would have to approve.
The logos on cars and the equipment and all that stuff, that's gonna cost a million.
Yeah, so it's not gonna be all at once. But as a new car comes in, we hope to require it to, outfit it with the new logo.
I think that one thing that you kind of brought out here was maybe just sort of a monthly, this is what we're going to do this month. These are the few things we're going to have Sarah, maybe she's going to put out something on social media or we're going to have a newsletter, and we'd like it to say that if we just sort of get into the habit of doing, like Mark said, some of these small things that aren't extremely costly, but we just need to do them, and that kind of thing. I think that would be a good way to get things going. And then, like some of these larger budget items, as time goes on, we can deal with that.
Maybe to begin with, it'd be good to put it on the agenda at the end of it, just to do a report, what's happening.
I think it's an excellent idea, that we
Yeah, for
can
this-
just have an update on maybe what's going on and very good.
Well, we did that.
Because those are the regular meetings that we're already involved with. All we need to do is have an item on there that kind of updates everybody on what's going on.
One of the things that kind of breaks our hearts the most is when all this is here and like you say, someone throws it in a drawer. And so for the next few months, even after we finish the project, I'll keep working with Mark to just say, what are we doing? But there's a certain point where if we can help on a monthly basis, come in, meet for 2 hours with the groups that are doing stuff and say, what have you done? What questions do you have? What can we do to help you? And if there's a point, obviously that's more work for us. That's, doesn't hurt business-wise. But the worst thing is just when it doesn't get done and a year goes by, and I contacted a client last year and said to him, how's it going? And we've been talking. He says, well, it didn't work very well. I says, oh, I'm sorry. Let's get together, have a meeting. And we talked about it. Come to find out the brochures they did, they hadn't done anything. No social media. They hadn't even mailed the brochures out. They hadn't done anything. And we realized then that the way we can have this be a better project for you and for us is if we can meet just, a couple hours a month even, and meet with a group that's in charge of each of the things with you, answer questions and see if we can do anything to help.
So like the newsletters and the social media headers and things like that, You got some really nice stuff in here. Have we got access to those layouts and that kind of thing?
Yeah,
for
we're
the
gonna give
newsletters
you
and-
all the files.
We've got all that.
AI, okay, so we're just gonna give you all the files. That way she can go on and anyone internally can go on and do things. If you get past something that's not getting done, we're glad to help, obviously.
All right.
Well, and Zach back there's our AI expert, right?
He is.
Should have known with the beard, right? Yeah, the idea is to give you all the files, so you can just do it. But the thing is, sometimes you just get bogged down with everything else we're doing, and it doesn't move forward. And for us, it's a success when it does move forward. That's
Yeah.
a year from now when you can say, hey,
Well-
this has made a difference.
And I hate to keep rehashing it, but it is one of those things is that it becomes an aha, all of a sudden, oh yeah, this is really something that's working, and like the logo or anything else, and all of a sudden it clicked, and I think it's just a matter of making a habit of just doing it, and then all of a sudden, even if it doesn't click at first, maybe it does eventually. And what we really want it to do is click with our community, and hopefully it'll be something that'll be beneficial for that.
And the best thing is through attrition, right? As we replace, we're doing new head logo or new stationery and all that, bam, we just start putting the new stuff in play. And it just becomes a natural expense at that point.
That's the way most people implement it, even if it's a large corporation. They might take certain things, they're gonna invest X amount of dollars. They might wanna do some of their vehicles right away. But most everybody does it through attrition, so. There's another comment I was gonna make. On the files and stuff, when you get them, put them somewhere accessible for other people. One of the hardest things is if we give them all to you and then a month later you call, because we'll post them up on Dropbox, pull them down within a couple weeks, have everything, get them to everyone who needs it. And then as you need other things, call us. But the hardest part is if you don't do that, then you're calling back and saying, hey, can you send all those files to us again? And we'll say, sure, here's a link. After about the third time, we're gonna say, sure, that's gonna cost you $100. So we want you to have everything. We want you to use it. That's our goal. So,
Just really quick, I mean, I've worked for several banks, and this branding thing's huge to banks for obvious reasons. But they created PR departments that did nothing but monitor and police what happened with the logos and that type of stuff. And, it started way down here, and the employees were still doing stuff in there are certain areas and that type of stuff. They finally, got to the point where if you didn't go through the PR department, you got fired. And I watch people get fired. And this may sound really stupid, but, if we're going to do this, we need to do it.
All in.
Which means that if anybody wants to do anything with a shirt or a logo or anything like that, they got to go through Mark. And Mark's going to become the expert on how to get the logos to the right people and to the printer and that type of stuff. We just need to do it. If we're going to do it, we need to do it.
you'll have
Right,
some
yeah.
things that are promotions, like the different days you do. I forgot, heydays, am I? But that, we kind of gave you a sample on there. Promotions are different. You could have a big, rodeo thing on it, but now you also don't do anything without our logo on it. And if you do, we found one of the best ways to do that is if somebody says, well, I wanted for my department, I went and had my brother-in-law do it, but it doesn't match what we're supposed to do. You simply say, no problem, you pay for that. Well, no, the city's gonna pay. No, you're gonna pay, because you didn't approve it through us. Now, of course, you end up having to pay for it, but it helps to allow them to say, and you really do have to be, somebody has to be the tough guy who's.
They think twice about it after that, don't they?
Well,
Yeah.
you need my resignation right now because I gave me the logo. I take it to because we wear all different colors, and I says, make it pop. Well, Public Works has some of the ugliest colors out there. So if you want me gone
It's
now,
pretty close to your color, actually.
So are we going to do this or not?
when they put on this to make it pop, but Wes knows I've got all, on our green shirts or just black screen print, but our coats, I have them, so I want them to stand out.
And I
So
think
I'll
there's room
probably
for that.
lose my job, so it's a good thing I'm close to retirement because,
I think that we didn't have that color thing, right?
no, well, And I just
We're
went
a
and said,
little ahead,
"Look
trying
this,"
to get
but
everybody.
I didn't have a choice when it come to color
Maybe
anyway. It
next
was
year
like-
we can take them that color code thing or whatever and say,
But I like things to pop so it stands out.
Yeah.
Well, right now, this is your color for your department. That's gonna pop off
Kind of
anything.
a,
And
but
then,
I've got green coats too, that olive green, that don't.
But
pop.
couldn't black be,
the black would pop
So
off.
anyway, just so you know, I got 2
Just-
years, and if I need to go now, I can.
Here's some of the stuff we looked at, is just for your department.
Yeah.
So I think we can make it work, and you two will work it out, but as soon as you let him do what he wants to, then everybody else is gonna, and you're.
Amen.
Well, that's what you need to know, is I'll probably be so, either from jail or from work.
We might as well just put this in the drawer then, and move on.
Oh, I like the logo, the color. I would like my guys to be able to be seen.
We just all agreed on following this.
Yeah, so I just gave you, I was doing my coats. I usually do everything for the winter, and I asked Mark, I need a logo, or if it's gonna hold the old logo. So he gave me a logo. I took it to my cover up and I says, make this work on all my clothing, which is different colors.
well, you didn't know
Usually
that.
that brown color or black will work, or white. And all of the ones can take white and black.
So I don't understand what the importance of the color as long as the logo is the same on the Public Works.
Just needs to be consistent. And there's room here. I mean, we couldn't sit down with every department and say, but we did do public works, because we had some questions there. But those are things that we can add.
Yeah.
Two as we
There's
go
room. He gave me, the library hated their colors, and so we switched it. It was an orange and now it's blue. We might have a Public Works primary and a Public Works secondary.
Yep.
And we could add that, just simple.
Yep.
So, as long as it fits in,
Yeah, as long as we'll help you pick those colors when we need to, and yeah.
so there's room to work.
all right. All right. Well, thank you, Rushford. Thanks for coming all the way up tonight, and you're welcome to slice a pizza if you like.
That would save me stopping on the way home. So
There you
I'll
go.
grab a plate, take it with
Pretty
me.
good. It's pretty good pizza.
Thank you. Let me know if you adopt it, in case we need to.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome to stay, and we hope you do.
You can go home too.
Yeah.
You got a long drive.
It's a 2-hour drive. I'll
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave this, use that.
Salt Lake.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rushford. Okay, let's see. Maybe we've got some time. Why don't we kind of just walk through the agenda here? The opening ceremony, asked Lyle if he'd give us a prayer, and Wes if he'll give us a pledge. Declaration of any conflicts of interest. Council, do we have anything we need to concern ourselves with? Okay, so let's just walk through the agenda as much as we can here, and let's see, the minutes. Council, you got any questions about the minutes? We're good there. We got these,
I do have a question.
okay.
On 8E, could we just spend a minute on that?
On 8,
Yeah, it's just about Steve, right, retiring?
oh, oh, yeah, let's get to that. I just wanted to make sure let's see,
Where are you at?
on the agenda?
On E.
You're talking about on the agenda, aren't you? Okay. All right. Citizenship awards, that's going to be North Park and McKinley tonight.
Yeah. We
Okay,
didn't hear from the intermediate school at all.
what?
I reached out to the intermediate school a couple of
Oh,
times.
no, never heard back from them, okay. All right. We're going to, if we have public comments this evening, we're going to, we want them to come and we invite them to come and We want to listen to what they have to say. We need them to be concise. Sometimes what we get is, I think people get up there and they get nervous and they start talking in circles and everything, and we just need a concise, for them to address this with a concise manner.
Back up one while, what's the inflatable bounce house safety thing?
Sean, do you want to give us an update on that?
I didn't know.
Yeah, there's Adventure Zone has been reaching out to different cities wanting to come to their city council meetings and present bounce house safety. I had several conversations, emails with her, and suggested actually working with city staff was the more appropriate group, but she insisted and felt like you needed to hear this information. So I think in it is a request to purchase from them training for bounce houses, and I'd tell you a couple things. One is we don't allow bounce houses except for city events where the city is actually has the vendor, and we take on that liability because it just is an exclusion in our insurance policy, bounce houses. So we don't just allow any bounce houses to go into city parks. The other thing is that the trust, who is our insurance provider, also provides training, and I told her that we do have training on bounce houses through the trust. And so at any rate, after 3 or 4 emails, she still wanted to be on the agenda, and so.
Well, we'll hear what she has to say. Let's see.
Mayor,
Yes.
before we
Yes,
pass
sir.
number 7,
Yes, sir.
concise, I mean, that's pretty open. I still think that, I highly suggest we put a time limit in there. 5 minutes is a long time. Anyway, that's.
Let's see what this brings us tonight. If we feel like we're not getting anywhere and people still, we want to have a little, some back and forth if we need to talk back and forth with them and that kind of thing. But you're saying their presentation part would be 5 minutes?
Yep.
But then we would allow ourselves whatever if we needed to
I
talk
think
about
if we
it.
want to have communication back and forth, but I've seen these last 15 minutes,
Yeah,
and they say the same thing a lot of times.
yeah.
Or they
Well,
come with 4 or 5 things. It's like, if you're here,
It's over and over again. Yeah.
let's just.
Okay, well, I'll bring that up with them and we'll see how that goes. But if this doesn't seem to work, then we'll take it to the next level. Okay, financial statements or warrant register, anything there, council, that we needed? The YESCO agreement. Sean, do you want to bring us up to speed on that one?
Sure. On 2000 West, we own property, and we purchased it from Stan Stokes. And at the time we purchased it, he had entered into a ground lease with YESCO, and when we acquired the property, we became successors of interest in that lease, and so they've been paying us since that time for about, I think, 20 years. I think they had a 10-year term with another 10-year renewal, which they exercised. So we're at the end of the lease, and we renegotiated terms for 5 years, no extension. So this just allows, in my mind, the shorter term just allows us to sort of monitor the market and increase rates accordingly. And so we did negotiate a higher amount. I think it's $27,000 over the 5-year period of time. It increases 2% every year. There were some other things I didn't like in the lease, some general terms, which we negotiated out. It is a ground lease, so they do own the sign structure. And if we ever got to a position where we didn't come to terms, then they would remove their sign structure. But at this point in the process, we can accommodate the lease and just extend it for another 5 years.
Electronic signs, I seen cities fighting electronic signs. Can they put them up on?
Well, so, in our code, it does prohibit billboards. So this is an existing billboard, it's non-conforming. So I think they probably could do, because the state code, they have a really powerful lobbying group, the billboard industry, and for whatever reason, the state legislature has listened to them and put a lot of restrictions in state code related to billboards. So at any rate, I think they could, is the shorter answer.
We put our logo on it.
You know, we do own billboards ourselves, and I shouldn't call them billboards because they're on-premise signage in my mind, which is different. A billboard, is often contemplated with the size, but it's also advertising an off-premise message. So we do own large signs along the interstate, and that's one of the things we could do, certainly, is change those out over time. We just recently did that, so.
We got the one sign.
There's two, so we own one sign ourselves, as far as I understand it. I mean, I couldn't find no one else has claimed ownership, and so there's not a lot of good records, but I think we own one sign ourselves, and then Yesco has 2 ground leases. If you scroll to one of the exhibits, you can see where it is. It's in the storm drain basin, right there, you passed it.
15.
It's just those circled,
Is there one on 84?
So there's one on there's 2 on I-15, essentially. One in the UDOT storm drain basin that we own, and then the other one is right here, just north of these 2 signs that are Yesco ground leases. They're denoted by that red circle. And then there's also one on I-84, you're right, which is used by the hospital.
Yeah.
The hospital has used it historically, but it's our billboard.
So we have 4.
We do. Am I counting
This
right?
particular one that we're approving tonight is one of them.
These are just ground leases with Yesco. So we don't own these billboards. They do.
Yeah, we're leasing for
Leasing the property.
$2,250 per month.
A year probably, right?
Well, $27,000 a year is what you said.
Yeah, right. About a year, over 5 years.
27 over 5 years?
Right. It's
5,000, a little over 5,000 a
Oh,
year.
yeah.
okay.
5 year.
Yeah, it's not, in the grand scheme of the budget, it's really insignificant. But
Okay.
Connie, you wanted to talk a little bit about item E?
Where we were in the process on this, Steve, I know he's retiring, all that. How much time, is the job already posted? Or it is?
we're collecting applications. What we've seen so far is we had it listed as a building official or building inspector, zoning administrator. We got feedback from others that if it was just a building inspector, that we would, get more interest. So we did separate out those 2 job duties, and we really didn't receive any more interest from qualified individuals. So what we're thinking we're going to need to do is, either get someone to shore up in the short time and actually provide inspections for us, and try to hire someone and then get them through the certification process is probably the most likely scenario.
Are you looking for someone that's already got their certs?
Absolutely.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the ideal, but we're just not having anyone interested who has their certifications.
Yeah, 'cause you put a lot of, I've taken the tests, yeah, anyway. But no, that can take a long time to get someone certified
Yeah.
on that.
So we'd look for, probably candidates that are more inclined to move through the process quickly is what you would expect, contractors. And so I think, according to Steve, they could get the footings and foundation inspections fairly easy and then just sort of progress. It would probably have consult us, help us fill the gaps until we can get someone fully certified.
Are you looking for a job, Rick?
No, not that one.
Thanks for trying.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, why don't you bring us up to speed with the landmark design? Just refresh us on that one. I think the other items we've kind of covered, the playbook and the Zion's public finance.
Yeah.
As far as the work session goes, we have just a few minutes. And then if we can kind of wrap this work session up and then allow people to come in and get settled in so we can start on time
Well,
at 7 o'clock.
I would say, I'm hoping to have a closed session. At least there's some information that I'd like to share with you at the appropriate time, and which is, I'm guessing, at this point likely after our
Long as-
How long do you think?
It's, I don't know, probably, 5-10 minutes.
Just do it
Why don't we
now?
do that right now and then we can
Wow.
have that done?
Okay.
Council, I guess we need a vote.
Make a motion, we go into closed session.
Motion by Rick and second by Connie that we go into closed session for a few minutes. All in favor?
Listen,
Aye.
and you can stay if you're okay, or if you would rather step out, you can.